You can feel it, can't you? The city just breathes. It's a million sirens all at once, 1,000 different conversations, that relentless hum of traffic. Especially in a place like New York, the pressure is always on. It's this beautiful, wild chaos, but man, it is so easy to get lost in all that noise, to just feel like you're treading water. The modern world is always pushing, always pulling, always demanding something from you. And you start to realize survival out here is not just about getting around the city streets. It's about navigating the streets inside your own head. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? The real fight is right between your ears. I mean, the world outside can be loud for sure, but the world inside, sometimes it's absolutely deafening. So before you can ever dream of mastering the job or the city or your relationships, you have got to get a handle on that internal chaos. And that's where this idea of a code comes in. You need a set of personal, unwritten laws to guide you through it all. You know, nobody hands you a rule book when you're born. We're all pretty much just figuring this stuff out as we go. But you start to see patterns, right? Principles, these unwritten laws that people learn, usually the hard way. So today, we're going to dig into some of those laws by looking at the lives of 4 different people, each of them fighting their own very modern, very real battle. Okay, so our first stop is Los Angeles, a city that's pretty much built on image and ambition. And this is where we meet Michael. Now, Michael's a hard worker, but he feels like he's stuck on a treadmill. He's surrounded by what looks like success everywhere. And that constant pressure to keep up, well, it's absolutely crushing him financially. And then he stumbles on this piece of advice, and it hits him like a ton of bricks. This is the root of his problem. He was burning through money he didn't really have, all to get a nod of approval from people who are probably in the exact same stressful boat. Realizing this became the first law in his new personal playbook. It was a massive wake-up call to just stop playing a game he was never going to win. So, with that, Michael starts building a whole new framework for himself. First off, he decides he's going to take his finances as seriously as he takes his health. No more messing around. He starts to see money for what it really is, a defense. It's a shield against all the curveballs life loves to throw. And then he really lets this sink in. What other people think of him. It literally doesn't pay his bills. It's none of his business. And finally, he reframes the whole idea of getting wealthy. It's not about greed. It's about giving yourself a break. It's a practical tool to make a hard life just a little bit easier. It's about freedom. So while Michael's battle was pretty external, all about money and appearances, our next story from Austin is about a battle that feels way more internal. Let's meet Sarah. She's just gone through a huge life change, and she is feeling deeply, profoundly lonely. The nights are long, her social life is kind of dried up. But instead of letting this feeling swallow her whole, she starts to look at it differently. And this shift in her perspective, it was massive. She realized this lonely period wasn't some kind of punishment. It was the price of admission. It was the cost of improving herself. All of a sudden, this quiet time became a rare opportunity to actually reconnect with who she was, without anyone else's opinions getting in the way. Solitude wasn't a curse. It became her superpower. And in that newfound quiet space, Sarah started to establish her own set of laws. Number 1, focus on you. She accepted that people, even people you love, often come and go. Number 2, she did the really hard work of making peace with her past so it would stop poisoning her present. 3, she learned to actually manage that voice in her head, realizing if she didn't control her thoughts, they would absolutely control her. And finally, and this was huge, she stopped oversharing. She learned that a little privacy, keeping some things just for herself, that's a serious one of power. In the end, it turned out that the very thing that felt like it shattered her world, the loss, the loneliness, was actually the thing that gave her perfect clarity. She could finally see herself, her life, her goals, with a focus she just never had before. The pain wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a much sharper, clearer chapter. Okay, so from the quiet power of solitude in Austin, we're going to jump to the loud, harsh reality of failure in Chicago. This is David's story. He has just poured every ounce of his being into a new business, and it failed. I mean, spectacularly. He's lost money, his confidence is shot, and he feels like he's been branded by it, which is a heavy, heavy weight to carry in a city that prides itself on grit. And then he hears the simple phrase, and it changes everything. A bruise, it hurts like hell, right? It's ugly, everyone can see it, and it takes time to heal. But it fades. A tattoo, on the other hand, that's permanent. He had to learn to see his failure for what it was, a painful moment in time, a really bad bruise, but not his entire identity forever. And with that, he builds himself a comeback mantra, a new set of laws for his own mind. He makes a choice. No more regrets, only lessons. No more worrying, just acceptance of what he can't change. No more expectations, just gratitude for what he still has. His new motto became beautifully simple. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you learn. And you realize that learning is its own kind of victory. And this is the balance he found. It's so critical. By refusing to let that failure sink into his heart and define him, he protected his spirit. And it works both ways, right? Enjoy your successes, but don't let them make you arrogant. It was this emotional balance that gave him the strength to finally dust himself off and get ready for whatever was next. All right, for our last story, we're heading to Portland to meet Emma. The scene is Thanksgiving dinner. It's supposed to be about family and gratitude, but for Emma, it's always been a minefield of passive-aggressive comments, draining conversations, and just a ton of emotional work. She always leaves feeling totally wiped out and kind of resentful. But this year, she decides, is gonna be different. See, Emma is a natural giver. She's the peacemaker, the listener, the one who absorbs all the family attention. Here's the problem. She's dealing with takers. And the thing you have to understand about takers is they don't have any built-in limits. They don't have an off switch. So Emma realized it was up to her to create and defend her own boundaries. So this Thanksgiving, she came armed with a few simple but really powerful new laws. First, when one of those little comments made her angry, instead of reacting, she practiced strategic silence. Second, she just stopped trying to explain herself and her choices. It's a waste of energy. People are going to hear what they want to hear anyway. Third, she completely banned the word maybe when she really meant no. And the rule that held it all together, she decided her self-respect had to be stronger than her feelings of guilt or her desire to please everyone. And that, right there, was the ultimate lesson. Protecting her own peace wasn't selfish. It was necessary. It was survival. Setting boundaries is one of the biggest acts of self-care there is. Emma learned that she could still love her family, but she could do it from a safe distance and completely on her own terms. So we've been to LA, Austin, Chicago, and Portland. We've looked at 4 very different people with 4 very different problems. But if you look really close, you start to see that they all learned the same fundamental, powerful truth. Think about it. Michael's money problems, Sarah's loneliness, David's huge failure, Emma's family drama. On the surface, those are all external problems, right? But the solutions, every single one of them, they were internal. They realized they couldn't change the world around them, so they changed the world inside themselves. And this really is the final, most important unwritten law of them all. The goal isn't to control other people or control every outcome or try to bend life to your will. Honestly, that's just a recipe for endless frustration. Real power, true power, comes from mastering yourself. It comes from controlling your thoughts, your reactions, your principles. That is the one thing in this entire world that nobody can ever take away from you. So that leaves all of us with a choice. Really, you have 3 options. You can sit back and watch things happen. You can get in the game and make things happen. Or you can stand on the sidelines and wonder what the heck just happened. After hearing these stories, after thinking about these unwritten laws, what's your next move?